Hate it or love it, money is needed to live a comfortable life, and most people don't know where their financial picture stands. If this is you, don't feel bad. This was me prior to 2020 as well. And in my opinion, one of the first things you need to do to be able to build wealth is to know your current net worth. After all, how do you know if you're going towards the right direction if you don't know where you currently stand? Back in 2020, I used a net worth tracker that somebody else built, and it was great, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted, so I built my own net worth tracker, and I love it. I can see exactly what my current net worth is, how much it's grown since the beginning, my current mix of investments, and best of all, I can select 2 different dates and see exactly how much my net worth has increased or decreased in that specific time. I can also see how many milestones I've hit and my month-over-month growth very easily. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to hit that notify button to get notified whenever I post a new video. And without further ado, let's dive in. All right, so the first thing we'll do is create a new spreadsheet. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to rename this tab as net worth input. This will be where we actually input our net worth. To keep things clean, I'm going to make column A very small, column 1 very small. That way we have a nice little edge around the perimeter. In cell B2, I'm going to type category. Then in cell B3, we'll type month. I'm going to click on both of those and make those a bit bigger. Now, just to the right of category, I'm going to type liquid. This will be where your liquid amounts are. In column J, I'm going to type retirement accounts. In Q, other investments. X, assets, so miscellaneous assets. We'll need to add some more columns to the right. In cell AE, we'll put debts. And just as a reminder to yourself, input as a negative number. We're going to need some more columns, so insert columns to the right. AL is going to be very small. AM, we're not going to put anything right here in row 2. In row 3, however, we'll put total assets. AN, total liabilities. We'll make AO super small as well. AP, net worth. AQ, money change. And then AR, percent change. We'll make AS super small as well to give us a nice little frame. And now we're good. Okay, so here we have our layout of the table that we're going to use. You can format this literally however you want. The biggest thing in my opinion is 1, don't use the merge. So you don't want to click on this, that will merge everything. You don't want to do that because that will mess up some formulas later on. Instead, just leave it at that. But you can make it whatever colors you want, whatever, anything. It doesn't really matter. This is your tracker, make it as much as you want. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to Format, Theme. And by default, everything is standard. I like to use this little vintage theme right here, but you can do whatever you want really. If you want to customize it, you can. So you can put a different font. So for example, if we want Roboto, you can change the different colors. So if you want blue, but realistically, I'm just going to leave it as is right now. What this will do is this will format your charts later. Okay, I'm going to select both B2 and B3. Change the background to a gray color. Make that bold, make it a little bit bigger, and I'll center it. For liquid, I'm going to make this bold, make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to add some color. You can add whatever color you want to. I'll add green, for example. For retirement accounts, I'm going to make that a yellow. And I'll make it a little bit bigger and bold. If you see this is getting cut off right here, check your text wrapping. You want the text wrapping to show overflowing. If it's cut off, that means you probably have this clip set up. So you don't want that. Make it so you can see the whole thing. Other investments, I'm going to go ahead and make this a light purple. And I'll make it bold, make it a little bit bigger. Miscellaneous assets, I'm going to make this a blue. And make it bold, a little bit bigger. For debts, I'm going to make orange. And make that bold and a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go ahead and make these a little bit bigger and bold and go ahead and center them. Then this is a little cluttered, so I'm going to do text wrapping for here. I'll select all of these headers right here, and I want them to be centered vertically as well. Cool. We'll get to these in a second. All right, so what you're going to do now is we're going to select each of these different sections. So I'm going to select C through I, then hold down Command Shift and down to select everything through the end of the column. I'm going to go to Format, Alternating Colors. and then pick something that's close to what you had there. So I had a green, so I'm going to click on green, hit done. And now I have alternating colors going down all the way through the end of the column. And then I'll simply change this to the same green that I had before. I'm going to do the same exact thing here. So I'm going to go all the way to P, press down, format, alternating colors, yellow, okay. Go back up, and then select the same gold that I had before. And we're going to do this for every single one. All right, so now everything is there. If you didn't figure it out yet, if you have the alternating color and you don't have the color scheme preloaded right here, you can simply click on color 2 and select whatever color you want to for that alternating color. All right, so now for total assets. We're going to go ahead and click on total assets and go down to the end of the column. Go to alternating colors. I'll select this green color. I'm going to make this a really dark green. Hit OK. And then I'm going to make the font white. For total liabilities, select the entire column, go to alternating colors, and I'll select this reddish orange. Then I'll make the background really dark red. And once again, I'll change the font white. Net worth, add alternating colors. I'm going to change it to this goldish background and make the font white. And then for percent change and dollar change, I'm going to go ahead and select both of those together. Go to alternating colors and select gray. And then since these are more important, I'm going to go ahead and actually make these font 14 instead. All right, so everything is set up here. So underneath here, where you have liquid, you're going to put all your different liquid accounts. You're going to put your different retirement accounts. Now I just realized I have a misspelling right here. So retirement. Retirement accounts like your 401k, your Roth IRA, different things like that. These are ones that are specifically for retirement. Then other investments, this is where you'll put your brokerage accounts, if you have real estate, whatever your other investments are. Miscellaneous assets, this could be your home, your car, fancy watch, whatever is miscellaneous assets, but these are more personal. And then your debts are going to be all your different debts, so student loans, your mortgage, credit card debts, different things like that. For credit card debts, student loans, since there can be very many of them, I don't put each one individually. You can if you want to. Like I said, this is your tracker. Instead, I simply add them up each month and then have one lump sum for student loan, one lump sum for credit card, or whatever the case is. All right, but for the time being, I'm going to put liquid 1. And a little trick, instead of typing out 2, 3, 4, 5, you can simply click the fill handle, drag that over. Retirement 1. Other 1. Miss 1. Then debts 1. Perfect. All right, now we're going to insert a new tab, and we'll name this Worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and make row 1 very small, column A very small, just to give it a little bit buffer. In cell B2, we'll put start date. Then in cell C2, we're going to click on data validation, add rule. Use the drop-down to select is valid date. Reject the input if it's not a valid date, and hit done. So right here, you can double click on the cell, and now you can select from a pop-out calendar what date you want to start with. So right now I'm filming this in March of 2025. Let's say that I want to start tracking my net worth from this month. You can go ahead and select that. If you want to go back to have some historical data, you can do that too. It really depends on your preference. For the sake of testing things out, let's go ahead and put a few months back. So I'm going to say November 1st, 2024. And I'm going to go ahead and make a bold outline. And I'll make column B a bit bigger. Over here to the right in column E, we're going to type in type. And then current amount. Now under type, we're going to extract all of the different categories that we just put. And we're going to do this dynamically. So in F2, I'm going to type equals unique. Go to our net worth input and select all of the different options for our types. And press enter. So now you can see we have liquid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, retirement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth. Now, what's cool about this is if you go ahead and delete some, if you change the name, so retirement's going to be that instead, this will update automatically. So you'll have blanks if it's blank, and then you'll have the new names. So it's super convenient when it comes to completing that part later. But if you want to complete them now, feel free. All right, in cell B4, we're going to type in start, current net worth, growth overall, minimum net worth, maximum net worth, and current year growth. We'll need some formulas here later on for both this section and for this section here. But before we do that, we need to actually get some data. So here in cell B4 under month, we're going to type in equals EO month. Select the date that's currently right here. Put 0 and close it. So you can see here that even though we have the first of the month selected, here we have the 30th. Reason being is we have a 0, so it's showing the last month of the date that's selected. So we're going to click on that cell and go to Format, Number, Custom Date and Time. I'm going to delete everything that's currently here, and we're going to put it in month. Use a drop down. We want it to be a 3-letter month. Put a space. Then we want the year, so we're going to select year, and then full numeric year, which is 4 digits. Hit apply. So now it says November 2024. Let's go ahead and make that centered. Now we're good with that one. So now under here in B5, we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, B4, close parentheses, comma, comma, if today, open parentheses, close parentheses, is less than or equal to EO month, B4, comma, 0, close parentheses, comma, comma, EO month, open parentheses, B4, comma, 1, and close parentheses, and we're good. Okay, so now what this is saying is that if B4 is blank, do we want it to be blank? If B4 is not blank, is today, the actual present date, less than or equal to the end of this month? So in this case, is it less than November 30th, 2024? If today is less than November 30th, 2024, then we want that to be blank as well, because we don't want to show a bunch of months that haven't actually happened yet. And if it is not less than the end of that month, then we want it to show the end of the month of this plus 1. So that's why it's showing December instead. Now I can click right there, click Paint Format, and paint that format. So that way we have December 2024. Now I can drag this down, and I'm going to drag this down all the way. The reason why we can drag this down is because we have that dynamic formula pointing to B4. You can drag this as much as you want to. Realistically, we don't need that many months, so I'm going to go ahead and delete a bunch more. Cool, and you can see that now automatically populated. We have December, we have January, we have February, and we have March. Remember, this is because I'm filming in March of 2025. Like I said, this is dynamic, so if you were to select a different date, so for example, March 1st, it's only going to show March 1st. So you can go ahead and get started with your different accounts and then add the historical later. The biggest thing is just to change the inputs, if you do that, to match whatever date is the maximum that you previously had it. But you can go back as far back as you want to. So let's say we want to have 2015. And now we have March 2015 all the way through the future. And best of all, when the next month rolls over, it's going to add April 2025 automatically and so forth. Now right now I have it set where it's less than or equal to. So this is actually going to populate on March 31st in preparation for April 1st. I personally like to get a little head start because I'm impatient. If you don't want that, no big deal. You can simply delete it and have less than. And that way it's not going to show up unless it's actually on April 1st. All right, let's go ahead and put some numbers in here. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller. So let's add this to 2024. And we'll go back to that 11. That way we have a little bit of data, but not too much. Okay, so we have November 2024. Actually, before we get to filling in some dummy data, let's add some conditional formatting. I'm going to select cells B4 all the way through the end of the column. Go to Format, Conditional Formatting. Is empty. I'm going to make that none. Hit done. I'll go ahead and duplicate this to add another rule. This time I'm going to say custom formula is. This time I'm going to put equals is even, open parentheses, year, open parentheses, before, close parentheses, close parentheses. So what this is doing is it's going to look at the year of the date that's in the cell in column B. If it's even, it's going to format it one way, and then we're going to add another one here separately, where if it's odd, it's going to format it in a different way. So that way you can visually see a breakup between each year super easily. All right, let's say I want this to be this kind of sage color. And then I'll go to add another rule, odd. And I want this to be this kind of gold color. Now, one super thing that's very, very important, the row in here, so 4, needs to match the row right here in 4. If it doesn't match, so if you have this going from B1 and it's going to B4 or vice versa, then it's going to offset the formatting based off of however many rows that's a gap. So you don't want that, make sure they match. And I'll hit done. So now if I go back up here, you can see that we have for 2024, this is an even number, so it's applying this formatting right here. And then for everything else, this is a odd number, so it's applying this formatting here. This is a little bit hard to read, so I'm going to go ahead and just make it a different color. If you want to bold it, if you want to italicize it, you can do whatever. Let's go ahead and bold them just to make them a little easier to read. And then we're good. The reason why we need to have this up here is because if we didn't, you can see that this adds the application of odd to every single one that's blank. So we don't want that. If the cell is empty, we want it to just have no formatting. All right, so let's get some dummy data. So I'm going to put equals rand between, and let's say 500 and 2000. I'll suggest the autofill. All right, I'm going to drag this all the way over to the end of my positive section. So now we have that. Now, right now, everything has a formula, so every time we make any edit whatsoever, that's going to change. So instead of doing that, let's go ahead and click on it, paste values only, after we copy, obviously, values only. So now everything is fixed. All right, so now we want to set up 2 rules. One is we want it to be where anything that's in these liquid non-debt categories are a positive number only. We don't want to be allowed to put a negative number accidentally. So I'm going to select everything through the debts column, go all the way down to the end, go to data, data validation, add rule. So it should be C4 to AD, whatever row you went through. I'm going to put value is greater than or equal to 0. And then show text needs to be greater than or equal to, and reject the input. Hit done. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing for the debts, just the opposite. So I'm going to go up, select all the cells correlated with debts, go to data, data validation, add rule, select less than or equal to 0, show help text, reject the input. So now it's only allowing us to put a negative number here, so negative 100. If I try to put a positive 100 here, it's going to give us that error message. In the same manner, if I type in 100 here, it'll work. If I type in negative 100 here, it will not work. So that will kind of save us from putting wrong numbers in wrong orders. Over here in total assets, we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, before, close parentheses, comma, comma, if sum C4 colon offset AE4 comma 0 comma negative 1 close parentheses equals 0 comma comma. Otherwise we'll take the sum of C4 colon offset AE4 comma 0 comma negative 1 close parentheses and press enter. Go ahead and make all of these dollar signs, and I don't care about the change. You can add them if you want, and we're good. Okay, so what this is saying is if B4, which over here, B4, let's go ahead and make that visible. We'll make this visible as well. So now we can freeze and see everything. All I did was I dragged that gray line that was up here next to this blank cell down to below row 3 and to the right of B. Cool, so what this is saying is if B4, so if this cell right here is blank, then I want it to be blank. Otherwise, if the sum of C4, which is this first liquid account, all the way through one column before AE, which is the debts. So it's going C4 all the way through the last miscellaneous assets possibility. If that's 0, then I want it to be blank. If it's not 0, then I want to sum up everything that's in that range all the way up to that debt category. Reason why I did it through the debt category, because that way if you add another column later on, it will automatically shift. Now it will be through AF instead, so it will still be included. All right, so now we can drag this formula down and we can see that the increase or decrease over time. All right, for the liabilities, we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, B4, close parentheses, comma, comma, just like last time. If, open parentheses, sum, open parentheses, offset, AD4, comma, 0, comma, 1, close parentheses, colon, offset, AL4, comma, 0, comma, negative 1, close parentheses, equals 0, comma, comma. And then now, instead of typing that all again, we're simply going to select the sum all the way through the second close parentheses and paste that. So you should have anything that's currently in there. So right now I have negative 100. Let's go ahead and put a rand between negative 1,000 and negative 200. And then let's go ahead and make that fill out. Copy, paste values only, and we're good. All right, so now I have all of my assets. I'm going to go ahead and format these as currency. All right, so that's good to go. So now we can drag this down, and you can see that the total assets is changing based off of whatever is here. For the explanation of this formula, what we're doing is we're taking if B4 is blank, then we want it to be blank. If one column to the right of AD through one column to the left of AL, the total of that, the sum of that equals 0, then we want it to be blank. Otherwise, we're taking the total of one column to the right of AD through one column to the left of AL. And once again, the reason why I'm doing the offset is that way if something gets added later on, it will still be within the range that it's totaling. All right, so now we can drag both these formulas down. And since we have that if is blank in there, it won't show up with anything until this is populated. For the net worth, we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, and, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, AM4, close parentheses, comma, is blank, open parentheses, AN4, close parentheses, comma, comma, sum of AM4 and AN4. So what this is saying is that if the assets and the liabilities are blank, then I want it to be blank. Otherwise, I'm just going to take the total of these. And the reason why we're taking the sum is because this is a negative number. That's a positive number, so it automatically subtracts. We'll drag this formula down to the end of the road. Now we're good to go. All right, so for the percent change, we're going to go ahead and put dollar signs in both of these. I'm going to go ahead and make that centered. We'll start our formula in row 5. The reason why we're starting in row 5 is because we need to compare it to the previous net worth. We can't do that right here because there is no previous net worth. We'll type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, B5, close parentheses. Make sure you're doing B5, not B4, so that way it's accurate since we're in the 5th row, comma, comma, AP5 minus AP4. So we're simply taking row 5 and then subtracting row 4 to find out how much it increased. You can see here that we actually increased by $2,862. And then here we actually decreased. For percent change, we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, B5, close parentheses, comma, comma. You can look up here if you're following along since this is very small. If, open parentheses, AP5 is less than 0, comma, open parentheses, negative AQ5, close parentheses, divided by AP4, close parentheses, comma, if, open parentheses, and, open parentheses, AP5 is greater than 0, comma, AP4 is less than 0, close parentheses, comma, open parentheses, AQ5 divided by negative AP4, close parentheses, comma, open parentheses, AQ5 divided by AP4, close parentheses, and press enter. Like so, now that, change this to a percent and drag that down. Okay, so this one is a bit complex, but basically what this is saying is that if this is blank, then we want it to be blank. Otherwise, we want to look to see if AP6, which is this number right here, is less than 0. If it is less than 0, aka is a negative net worth, then we're going to take a negative AQ, divide that by AP5 to see what the change is. If AP6, which is this right here, is a positive number, and AP5, which is the one right here, is a negative number, then we're going to take the positive divided by the negative of AP5. And finally, if we're both positive, we're going to take the change divided by the net worth. And that's it. All right, so this is super complex formula. So take your time, make sure you type them in right. Now we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and set some conditional formatting as well. So I'll select AP all the way through AR, go to Format, Conditional Formatting. If it's greater than or equal to 0, then I want to have no background and I want it to be a green color. I'll click Add Another Rule to duplicate it. And then this will be less than 0, and I'll make it a red color. So now if the net worth is negative, it'll be red. If it's positive, it'll be green. Same thing with the dollar change and the percent change. All right, now our headers are looking a little bit weak, so I'm going to go ahead and select all of the different headers, all the way through Det 7. I'm going to change the font to 12 and make it bold. Now I'm also going to select every single option in row 2, and instead of being 12, I'm going to make that 14. That way it's a little bit different than the headers. I'll make sure that this is 14 as well, so the category, the month, and all these top headers should be 14 in bold, and then all the ones here should be 12 in bold. Now let's add some formatting to make this look a little bit better. So I'm going to go to View, Show, Grid Lines. Now you can't see any of the grid lines there. I'm going to select all of the green area and go all the way down to the bottom. And let's make it outside border and make sure that it's this middle border. And then I will do the same thing for just the headers. So at the end, it should look something like this. And I'm going to do that for every single one of these. And the trick is to do Command-Shift-Right or Control-Shift-Right. And that will bring you to the next cell that has a value in it. Then you can release Command or Control and just hold Shift. You can press left and that will go back one column. Then hold down Command-Shift and press down. And that will bring you all the way down to the end of the column. We'll add those borders. Select right here. Add those borders. Now I'm all the way down here already, so I can select right here. Do the same thing, Command-Shift up, and keep pressing up until you get to row 2. If you go too far like I did, simply remove Command or Control and go back down. Or if you can't figure that out, no worries, you can select it manually as well. And we'll keep formatting it this way until we reach the end. All right, so over here for total assets, we're going to click on total assets, go down to the very bottom of the column. We'll make borders around there as well. Same thing for total liabilities. Same thing for net worth. And then we're going to group percent and dollar change together. All right, so at the end, it should look something like this, where you don't have any grid lines behind. You have all of the different columns with thick borders around it. You have thick borders around the headers, and you have thick borders around the top category as well. And then since we removed the different grid lines, you won't see any grid lines over here also. All right, this is looking better. So now we can go work on some formulas. So we'll go to our worksheet, and under Start, we're going to type equals XLOOKUP, open parentheses, min, open parentheses. We'll go here to net worth input and select all of column B, put a comma, close the parentheses, put a comma, select all of column B, put a comma, and then we'll go over here and select AP and press enter. So what this is doing is it's looking up the very minimum date that's currently in the month, and then it's going to return the net worth associated with that. So it should return 29,624 on my worksheet. That's exactly what we got. All right, for the current net worth, it's going to be a little bit of a complex formula. The reason why it's a complex formula is we don't want everything to be wiped out and have no value when that next month updates, when the month rolls over. So we want to have the month value if something is there. If nothing is there, we want to have the month before it. So we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, XLOOKUP, max, open parentheses, go to our net worth input, select all of column B. I'm going to go ahead and anchor that in, close parentheses, comma, all of column B. Let's anchor that in, comma, and then select all of our net worth, which is in AP through AP. We'll close the parentheses twice and put a comma. So this is saying if the maximum of March 2025 is blank, then we're going to do this next part of the formula. So we'll say offset, open parentheses. Then instead of typing this out again, I'm simply going to copy XLOOKUP through the first parentheses. Make sure to not include the second parentheses. Paste it. We'll put a comma, -1, comma, 0, and close the parentheses. Now we'll put a comma and paste that formula again and close the parentheses. All right, so as I mentioned, what this is saying is it's going to look up this value here and see if it has a net worth associated. If it does not have a net worth associated, so if it's blank for the net worth, then it's not going to return the value that's blank. It's going to return the value right up top. So we return 27,848 instead. If it isn't blank, aka we do have a value for our net worth, then it's going to return our net worth for the current month. Reason why we're doing this is if the month rolls over and you have not filled out this data yet, it would be blank otherwise. So then all your charts, everything would be blank until you fill it out, which we don't really want that. That's sloppy. So that's why we have it that way. Growth overall is simple. We'll type equals, select the current net worth, minus the starting net worth. So we have a negative $3,320 net worth for the last several months. Minimum net worth is super simple as well. So we'll type equals min, open parentheses, go to our net worth input and select AP through AP. This will give us the minimum that we have. Let's go ahead and format that as dollars. And then let's go ahead and drag this formula down and we'll change min to max. So now you can see that the maximum we've had our net worth is $33,481. Then this one doesn't really matter since we're going to set up a dynamic toggle later on. If you want to include it, we'll go ahead and put equals XLOOKUP, open parentheses, EO month, open parentheses, today, open parentheses, close parentheses, comma, 0, close parentheses, comma, go to our net worth input and select all of column B, put a comma, then select all of the AP net worth, close parentheses, minus, XLOOKUP, open parentheses, EO month, open parentheses, today, open parentheses, close parentheses, comma, negative month, open parentheses, today, open parentheses, close parentheses. We'll put 2 more close parentheses to round that out for the end of month, comma, all of column B, comma, all of AP. All right, so what this is saying is it's going to take the end of the month for today, which in this case would be March of 2025. Then it's going to subtract however many months we're into the year. So for example, this would take the month of today, which would be March. It would return a 3, so it would say 3 months back. And it's saying 3 months back. So it's 1, 2, 3. So it's returning the amount for December of 2024. If you want it to be January of 2025 instead, feel free to adjust the formula. All you have to do is before the last close parentheses right here, where the month formula is, put a +1, and now it will return 2 months ago instead of 1 month ago. Like I said, it doesn't really matter at this point because you're going to have a dynamic calculator in your actual dashboard, but that's how it works. All right, so now to prep for one of our charts, we want to have all of the current amounts for all of our different types. So I'm going to type in equals array formula, XLOOKUP, open parentheses, max, open parentheses, go to net worth input and select all of column B, close parentheses, comma, select all of column B again, put a comma. And now we're going to select all of columns C through AD. So I'm going to select AD, go all the way through C. And if it formats to C1, go ahead and just delete that. We want C through AD. I'll press enter, and now we have all of our different current amount values for all of our different types. So if I go down here, you can see that everything matches for the current month. But you can see that we don't have anything for debts, and that's because this is going to be for an investment chart where debts are not included. So if you wanted to, instead of having this go all the way through AK, you could actually do AD, and then everything will go through the end of the miscellaneous assets category. All right, so like I said, this is all dynamic. So if we go here and we change retirement 3, for example, to whatever this is, then we can go back to our worksheet, and then retirement 3 will update there, and we're good. All right, now we're done with the initial setup, so now we can build our dashboard. So I'm going to insert a new tab, and I'll go to rename, visualizations, or dashboard, or whatever you want to call it. Just to keep things consistent, I'm going to make row 1 super small and column A super small, and we'll start in B2. I'm going to select B through D, merge those together, and put milestones. I'm going to make this a bit bigger, and I'm going to make this a bit bigger, so I'm going to merge it center, merge it in the middle, make it bold, and make it size 28. Let's make it just a little bit bigger so it looks better, and we're good. All right, so I'm going to go down to row 32, just below that, and select all the different rows that are beneath it, and go ahead and delete those. Then I'll do the same thing starting in column O, everything to the right. I'm going to delete that. That way we have just a fixed little dashboard that doesn't really move. I'll select B through D all the way through the end, go to Format, Alternating Colors, and I'll select whatever alternating colors I want. I use this brown color. Then you can change the font to whatever color you want. I'm going to change it to here. In my real life version, I actually have a custom color that I got from Coolers that I put here that matches the theme, but you can put whatever color you want. I'm going to hit done, click right here, change the font color to white, and now we have that. Now I'm going to select B through D and go all the way through row 32 and select all borders, and you can change it to be short borders. Now we have that still selected, so I'm going to go to outer borders and then make those big. So it should look something like this. And you can actually make an outer border around the milestones as well. We'll make column E fairly small. We'll make column F a little bit bigger. This will be retirement target. We'll make G a little bit wider as well, and this is where you'll put your target. Let's say you want your retirement target to be 8 million. Now let's format these as well, so let's make them centered, both horizontally and vertically. Let's put the same color we have for the one over here. Make it a little bit bigger, make it bold, make the font white. I'm actually going to make it size 14. Okay, so now everything looks good right there. Let's just add an outside border to make things nice and neat. So in F10, we're going to type in total assets. And then in F11, we're going to type in total liabilities. All right, so total assets and total liabilities, we want this to be our current month. So we'll type equals XLOOKUP, max, open parentheses, go to our net worth input. If it populates anything, just delete it. Select all of column B, anchor that in. Close parentheses, comma, select all of column B, anchor that in, comma. Now we want to go to our total assets, which is in column AM, and then we'll go ahead and anchor that in as well so it doesn't shift, and press enter. So now we have 30,412 is our total assets currently, which should match our current month right there, which it does. Now I'm going to drag this formula down and simply change AM to AN, which is our total liabilities. And we have negative 4,108, which should match our current month total liabilities, which it does. All right, let's format this a little bit better. So I'm going to select all of these, go to center, center, make it bold, 12 font. The background will be the same color background as we had up here, and then the text will be white. Let's go ahead and add an outside border here to add some separation. And actually, this looks a little bit funny in the middle, so I'm going to make it right. Perfect. Column H, we're going to make that a little bit smaller as well. And then column N, we're going to make it a little bit smaller as well. One pro tip you can do is select N, hold down Command, select H, hold down Command, or Control if you're on a PC. Select E, and then Command and A. And now you can make them whatever size you want, and all of them will be the same exact size. All right, so over here in B3, we're going to type our different milestones. So I'm going to type 1, 25,000, 50,000. And you can put whatever milestones you want. It's entirely up to you. 75,000, 100,000, Let's go ahead and format all these as currency so I can make sure I'm putting the right amount of zeros, which I am. 250,000, 500,000, 1 million, 1,500,000. And then we're simply going to drag these down as far down as you need to be able to meet your target. So since I have a target of 8 million, I don't need this 8,500,000, and I'm good. If you have a target that's higher, you can go ahead and add more rows if you need to. If it's shorter, then you can add more middle milestones or simply just leave a bunch of blank at the bottom. Then in D3, we're going to type equals if, open parentheses, is blank, open parentheses, B3, close parentheses, comma, comma, min, open parentheses. We'll go to our worksheet and select C5. We want to anchor that in. Divide that, go back to our visualization, select B3, put a comma, 1, close parentheses, and then close parentheses. All right, so let's go ahead and make this a percentage. Remove the decimal places, and then we will drag that down. All right, so what this is saying is that if B3 is blank, then we want it to be blank. If it's not blank, then we want it to be the minimum of 1 or C5, which is our current net worth, divided by B3. So the reason why we want to find the percentage calculated or 1 is because we don't want this to be 200% or 300% or whatever that is once you start getting a higher net worth. We want this to cap at 100% because you met that goal. So you can see our current net worth is $26,304. So that's why for the $1 milestone, you see 100%. For the 25,000 milestone, you see 100% because we've met both of those thresholds. And then for $50,000, you can see that we have a 53% because we've reached 53% of 50,000. All right, just for the sake of time and simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and just paste in the formula that I have and read it out to you. You can change any of these colors to whatever colors you want, or you can simply type in red, yellow, or whatever. Okay, so we have if is blank. So if this is blank, then this is going to be blank as well. Otherwise, if D3, which is our percent, equals 1, then we want to have a spark line, open parentheses, D3, which is the percent right here, comma, open curly brace. So make sure it's a curly brace, not a parentheses or a bracket. Inside quotes, we'll put chart type, comma, inside quotes, bar, semicolon, inside quotes, max, comma, 1, semicolon, inside quotes, color 1, comma, then inside quotes, whatever color you want. So this is the hex code. So I put $016391. And this gives us this nice little blue color, which is actually the color that I use on my actual template. So I could, in theory, go up here and say add custom color, or I could just pick a custom color. So I could actually pick this, and that will give me that nice little blue that I had before. So I'm going to do that for all of these just for continuity's sake. So you can pick a custom color, click, and click. Perfect. So now I have that nice little blue. Okay, so you're going to close the curly brace. Make sure you're doing the curly brace, not a parentheses or a bracket. Then put a close parentheses, comma, if, open parentheses, D3 is greater than 0.5, comma, spark line, open parentheses, D3, comma. This will all be the same, so you simply can just copy and paste all of these different sparkline options. The only thing that changes is the condition, so 1, 0.5, 0.2, and so forth, in the color. So go ahead and just copy and paste instead of having to redo that over and over again for sparkline all the way through the last parentheses. Then update the color. So the color I'm using here is $FBBC04. Then we'll put a comma, if, open parentheses, D3 is greater than 0.2, comma, paste that spark line again. So this will be $E24A38 if you're following along with my colors. Then close out that, put a comma, and then we'll do that spark line one more time. So if it doesn't reach any of those, then we're going to have this color right here. And this will be $49564C. All right, so now once I drag this formula down, you'll be able to see all those different colors executed. So I'm going to drag this down to the end of the column. So if we have 100% reached, then it's going to be this blue color. If we have more than 50% but less than 100%, it's going to be this yellow color. If we have more than 20%, but less than 50%, it'll be this orange color. And then anything less than 20% is going to be this gray color. All right, right here under retirement target, we're going to add one chart. So we're going to go to Insert, Chart, and then click on Chart Type. We're going to scroll down to Scorecard and click right there. Now, for the data range, we actually want to select inside of our worksheet B4, B5, and hit OK. All right, if it looks like this where it's all joined together, click on Switch Rows and Columns, and now it'll be separated. So we want the top one to be C5, and then add baseline value to be C4. And it will tell you exactly how much is increased or decreased over time. I'm going to go to Customize Baseline Value, Absolute Change, and then you can type in whatever you want. So I'm going to type in increase, and that will say negative $3,320 increase. More times than not, your net worth is actually going to be increasing, not decreasing, at least as a whole. Maybe for the first few months, there might be some fluctuation, but as a whole, you should see an increase as you're tracking it. All right, for the title, we're going to type in current net worth. Bold, let's go ahead and center it. And then for the font size, we'll put 36. For the key value, I'm going to change this to 30. I'm going to center that. And for the baseline value, I'm going to change this to 20 and center that. So it should look something like this. Now we're going to make this a lot smaller so it'll look a little bit better. Drag this up, align it with the left, and align it with the right. And then drag this down. So essentially you want to have this entire grid have one row below it, one row above it. In F13, we'll type amount change. In F15, we'll type growth start, growth end. I'm going to select F16 and G16, go to Insert, drop down from a range, click on the four little boxes, click into the data range, go to net worth input, and then I'm going to select B4 all the way through the end of column B and hit OK. That will give you every single month the actual date that's correlated. Now if I hit done, I can exit out of this and go back to my visualizations tab. And you can see here that we actually have the right formatting on the drop down, but when we select it, it's not. So what we're going to do is do the same thing we did last time. So we'll select both of those cells, go to custom date and time, change this to August, delete everything except for put a space, and then we have the 4-digit year already. So now we're all good there. I'm going to go ahead and make this centered. I'm going to make this both size 12, bold, and I'll center everything here as well. And let's make it have some thick borders, just like that. I'm going to select both F15 and F16, click on Paint Format, and paint the format up here so it's the same exact way. We'll select something for growth right here. And we're going to type the formula equals XLOOKUP. We're going to select G16, anchor that in, comma, go to our net worth input, select all of column B, anchor that in, comma, all of AP, anchor that in, close the parentheses, put a minus, and now we're going to type in XLOOKUP, select F16, anchor that in, comma, all of column B, anchor that in, comma, all of AP, anchor that in, enter. So you can see here that we have $7,177 less in March of 2025 than we did in January of 2025. So if we go to our tracker right here, we can test that out. So we can do equals this minus this, and that matches exactly. Now we can format this color a little bit more. So we can go to 1, 2, 3 and format it. So we can use this formatting right here. If you go to custom number format, you can type in $ bracket, the first color that you want, close the bracket, pound, comma, pound, pound, 0, underscore, close parentheses, semicolon, open bracket, red, or another color that you want, close bracket, negative $, pound, comma, pound, pound, 0. So if that's the case, then the number, if it's positive, will be a green color, and if it's negative, it'll be a red color. So in this case, it is negative, so that's why it is a red color. But if we were to change, so let's say we have November and December, that actually increased, so we have a positive number instead. and we have it as green. All right, right down here, we are going to have a total assets by type donut chart. So I'm going to type in insert chart. Under data range, I'm going to remove that. Go to worksheet, select F2 through F3, and then we're going to go all the way over to the end of our rows, which should be AG. Then hit OK. So that's going to give us this funny looking thing right here. For a column chart, we want to have a donut chart instead. And then we'll switch rows and columns. So now you can see the difference between every single one of the investments that we have. Obviously, in real life, you're not going to have this many investments, so don't really worry about that. In fact, let's go ahead and clean some stuff up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete everything for these three. And I'm going to group these together so that way it's a little bit smaller. And what I did there was I selected all three columns, went to View More Column Actions after right-clicking, and clicked Group. Now let's say I only have 3 miscellaneous assets, so I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this. View More Column Actions, Group Columns, so I can minimize that. For other investments, let's say I only have 2. And I'll group these as well. Retirement accounts, I have, let's say, 4 retirement accounts. So I'm going to delete those and then group those columns. And then let's say for liquid, I have 6. Cool. So now we have a lot cleaner of a look. And if you want to take the time right now to go ahead and update the names to what they actually are in your real life, then feel free. And then let's actually get rid of the rest of these and just group them all together. All right, so now if I go back to my visualizations, it'll look a little bit cleaner and you can see exactly what's going on. Now let's make this a bit smaller so we can actually fit it in our area. I'm going to click on the 3 little dots, click Edit Chart, and go to Customize. Now the chart style we can leave as is. The chart axis title is going to be Total Assets by Type. I'll make that 30, center it, and bold. All right, then back in pie chart, we're going to select percentage. So that way it shows what percent as long as there's enough room for each of these. If you don't like the colors, don't worry. Like I said, this is all within that theme, so we can adjust the theme in a little bit. Now we're going to go up here to I2, go to Insert, Chart. And we're going to have a combo chart. Stacking will be standard. And the data range is going to be 2 different ones. So we're going to go to the net worth input and select B3 all the way through the end of B. Add another range. And we're going to select AM through AP through the end of AP and hit done. All right, so for x-axis, we want month. Then we don't want month for the y-axis. Then we have total assets, total liabilities, and net worth. If we go here to customize, we can go to our series. We'll select total assets. And we want that to be a column chart, so that's all good. Total liabilities, instead of a line chart, we want that to be a column chart as well, so that way it's stacked underneath. And for net worth, we want that to be a line chart so we can see exactly what our net worth is. We'll go here to chart and axis title. Our chart title, I'll put overall trend. I'm going to make that bold, size 30, and make it centered. Then I'll drag this over here, make it smaller. And you can format these however you want, just so you know. Cool, so I just made the columns a little bit bigger and then have it reaching from the top of this to the bottom of this and have the little buffer for H and N on each side. All right here, so we're gonna click on Insert, Chart. We want a standard stacked column chart. For our data range, we're gonna delete this, go to Import Net Worth. Now you wanna have just the investment portion. So we don't want the liquid. We're going to go ahead and select everything for J, everything all the way through the end of the miscellaneous assets. It's up to you if you want to include those or not. If you don't want to include the miscellaneous assets, you can simply end at other investments instead. So in this case, we're going to do J all the way through AD, then hit OK. We're going to add another range, and this will be for column B. So net worth, all of column B, and hit OK. So now we have the ability to add the month And then we have all of our different retirement accounts right here. Let's go ahead and resize this, make it look a little bit cleaner. All right, so customize. Let's go ahead and customize it a little bit. For a chart title, we'll type investment trend. Then we're going to make the font size 30 just to stay consistent, bold, centered. And that's really all we have to do there. So now we have our nice little dashboard. And you can adjust this to make it fit however you want it, depending on what screen you're using normally. So let's say I want to make this a little bit wider. I can. Let's go ahead and make this aligned with the sides. Let's make this a little bit wider as well. And we'll make these aligned with the sides as well. Okay. All right, so everything's looking good and operational. Now, you can see the background of this is kind of hard to read. So what we're going to do is go back to Format Theme, and we'll click on that theme that we are currently customizing, or you can select a different theme now if you want to. We'll go to Customize. And here you have all your different options. So you can have different colors for text. For background, let's go ahead and put white. So now we can see that white rack there. Then you can prioritize your different accents. So right now I have the default accent color as this orange color. If I change this to a purple color, for example, then that's going to change the different options that I have. Accent 2, you can put whatever you want, but yeah, that's the theme. So essentially just put whatever color you want and you're good. If for some reason you don't want the same colors, that's not a big problem. You can simply go into the chart and change those manually. So for example, I like how the different colors mix here, but I don't really want this to be burnt orange. So I'm going to go into this chart and I'm going to go to Customize Series, select that option specifically, and I'm going to change the fill color. I'm going to make that color a gold instead. So now you can see that I have a gold there, and then I can do the same thing for total assets. You can drop down right here or select it by clicking on it. So total liabilities, I'm going to make that a red color because liabilities are bad. Now I want to make the line for net worth a little bit more defined, so I'm going to make that this dark blue. And now you can see that a lot better. You can kind of play around with it to get it however you like. By default, it has the formatting of the theme, but you can edit things as you want. All right, and lastly, we're going to add some background color just to make the charts pop a little bit more. So I'm going to select A1 through the end of column A, go to Format, Conditional Formatting, is empty. I'm going to make the background a light gray color, hit done. I'm going to click into this to duplicate it, add another rule, and change this from A1 to N1. And once I do that, we'll have that top bar right there. All right, now we'll click back into this, go to add another rule to duplicate it. And now I'm going to change the range. So this is going to be from E1 all the way through N. Hit OK, and we're done. So now we have this nice little gray background, so it allows it to kind of pop a little bit more with the white. And that's it. So your tracker is all done. Like I said, you can format this however you want. So if you want these to be a little bit bigger, you can. And these will all update dynamically as well. So for example, if we go to our worksheet, and let's say we want to update this to September 1st instead. Now we need to add some more data. So, all right, so I just added a bunch of fake, more realistic numbers so you can see kind of what this looks like. So you have all your assets, right? You can see that this person owns a home, so that's why it is quite high, but they also have a mortgage. So that's why their liabilities are quite high as well. Over here, we have our net worth. So we have negative $37,000 in July of 2024, and then we're increasing it pretty significantly. So by March of 2025, we have $21,308. So if we go back to our visualizations, we can see exactly that this is changing over time. So now our net worth starts at the bottom and it crosses over the zero line, and now we're positive net worth. And you can see exactly how many total assets and total liabilities you have here. Realistically, it's not going to look like this. It's going to look like you have very few assets, a bunch of liabilities, and eventually it's going to shift and you'll have higher assets and lower liabilities. So that's that. And it'll probably be more of a zigzag line than an increase. Down here, you can see our home is a big part of our asset alignment. And we have our investment trends. So like I said, if you don't want to include the personal in your investments, all you have to do is go into the data range, click on the four little boxes. Instead of AD, we're going to go through W, hit OK. And now we only have the retirement account and the other investment accounts. And that way it doesn't group your personal assets into your investments. You can see exactly what you're actually invested in and what the ratios are. Because realistically, even if you have a $270,000 home, if you owe $250,000 on it, one, primary homes are not really an investment, but two, it's not accounting for that debt, so it's not truly an investment. And with our calculator, we can go to July 2024, go to March 2025, and see exactly how much increase has happened over time. So now that your net worth tracker is built, I recommend you going ahead and putting in your current net worth information. That way you can see where you currently are and you can go forward from the future. As you have time, you can always add historical data. For example, I started in 2020, but I track it all the way back to 2014 when I got married, so I can see exactly how much debt we incurred as well as how much we got out of it. And realistically, you can start wherever you want. Just make sure that's in chronological order. So that start date should list the very first month that you want to track. If you have anything filled out in the actual tracker itself, make sure to bring that down to the correlated month again, and then you can fill the additional information on top of it. Like I said, historical data is nice to know, but it doesn't really matter going forward. So the most important part is to see exactly where you are right now and where you are in the future. I hope you like this video. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know if you have any comments and like and comment for more.